We are recording. Okay. So I'd like to welcome everybody to this presentation. It is AARP's Fraud Watch Network. And I'm going to introduce Phil Chin. He's going to do the presentation tonight. Phil Chin is a volunteer for AARP's Fraud Watch Network, and he retired from CBS Network News in New York after a 37-year career as a radio news writer and producer. And he's taught as an adjunct professor at the Columbia School of Journalism. And tonight, Phil's going to present how to protect yourself from scams. Scams and identity theft affect millions of Americans. And AARP is proud to be a leader in the fight to combat fraud everywhere. And so we're going to go ahead and record this so that folks can watch it later. But Phil, take it away.
Thank you, Jen, so much for inviting me and the AARP Fraud Watch Network in Maine, and because you're one of the enlightened people who realize that the job of fighting fraud is everybody's job, and everybody can do a great job. And if you let your guard down, then you'll be just like the person who hasn't thought at all about fraud, and yet somehow they've been all of a sudden they're victimized. Everyone can become a victim if you don't watch out. And that's probably the message I'd like to deliver tonight. You have to be ever so vigilant, always alert, and never let somebody talk you out of giving up what's yours. And basically that's the goal of Fraud Watch Network. And to know that fraud is out there 24/7, I'll use that term. And I just welcome the opportunity to present our Fraud Watch Network information to you. And tonight we're doing it via Zoom. And I'm glad you're there. And normally when we do this in pre-pandemic days, remember those days, we'd have a room full of people buzzing and buzzing over what just happened to them on the telephone, what just happened to them on the internet. And they're eager to find out what's going on. So with the Zoom, it makes it a little harder. But since we have a limited number of people here tonight, if you have a question, raise your hand, and we'll talk about it right away, because that's the way we should do it when we have numbers such as this. So just remember that I'm here for you, and by the way, you're here for me. So if I hope you'll pardon my a little bit of technical lapses here, but I'm going to do my best to make all of this work. And let's see if the first thing will work right now, and it may not. Here we go. Okay.
There you go.
There we go. See, this is us, right? We're the good guys. I want to simplify this and make it as easy as possible. We are the good guys. We are not the people who have hang our head in shame because something happened to us. No, we're the good guys. They're after us. Do you blame yourself if somebody, I don't know, breaks into your car or somebody picks your pocket? No, you don't. You're a victim of crime, and that's what all the fraudsters are. They're criminals. And they're out to get rich, take what's yours. So it's a good thing to remember. And who are they? Oh, them, the bad guys. That's something to remember. They're people that, given better circumstances, would be nice people that don't engage in scams and frauds. But they engage in computer fraud. They sell your identity in the dark web, or they sit in cubicles making calls or letting the computer make calls. That's what they are. These are the bad guys, and they're constantly after you via the telephone, via the computer, via social platforms on the computer. They're coming up with schemes, and they're coming up with all kinds of really sometimes ingenious almost ways to part you of your money, of your credit, of your good name. So That's what we're talking about. So what are we doing tonight? Tonight we do have a plan. We have an agenda. We are going to talk about what are the trends and scams and fraud that has been discovered by the AARP Fraud Watch Network over the years. And then we're going to also talk about a playbook that we call the Con Artist Playbook. What is the playbook all about? It's actually what these con artists use. We've used video, we've used audio from the cons artists that we've been able to talk to. Usually they're the ones that get caught and thrown in jail, of course. But we've come up with strategies that they use, and we want to share what we know with you. In sharing, that'll allow you to be better prepared, to realize that the more you know, the less a chance for you to be victimized. And that's proven in all kinds of studies. The more you know, the less you'll suffer from an attack by a fraudster. And we'll also talk about then ways that all of this can be prevented. So after tonight, you're going to have a really good handle about how to prevent getting scammed. Okay. And we'll provide some resources for you to use, readily available, very helpful. But that's what we're going to do tonight. And afterwards, of course, we'll talk about your questions, any questions you have in mind. But as I said at the beginning, if you have a question, just raise your hand Zoom-wise, and we'll talk about it. Scams, trends in scams and fraud. So what do you think the top scams in the United States is? Well, to no one's surprise, it's identity theft. And there are imposter scams coming in at number 2 and sliding in number 3, but not to be ignored. Online shopping. Those are the top 3 scams reported by the Federal Trade Commission through the first quarter of 2021. So, how many people have their identity stolen? Well, think about it. 27 million people lose over $28 billion in a given year. So if you do the math, in the United States, somebody's identity is stolen every 2 seconds. That sounds almost impossible number. Every 2 seconds, someone loses their identity. But think about it. I mean, how many times have you been asked to click on something on your email and all that? It seemed innocent enough, and all of a sudden, maybe a couple of days later, you get informed that somebody has tried to sign on or log on to your Facebook account. Well, you probably lost your identity right then and there. Or you sign up for a contest where you might be able to win $100 if you fill in a survey. Well, a lot of people do that. They never see the $100, and they probably could say goodbye to their email address too. So identity theft is rampant, and it's easy. And then when your identity gets stolen, it gets resold for profit. It gets sold at the dark web. And remember, a piece of personal identification can sit dormant for up to 10 years. No one will think about using it. They'll buy it and they'll put it away. If they put it away, it gets better with time sometimes. So something to think about every 2 seconds. So what is the best way to protect ourselves from identity theft? Well, turn on the credit freeze. Anybody not know what a credit freeze is? Credit freeze is very simple. You go to the major credit bureaus and you figure out from them how to freeze your credit, where you will not allow anybody to check your credit report at Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion. And if they can't check the credit report, it can stop things like applying for a brand new credit card, applying for an auto loan, a mortgage, all kinds of things that can cost you a lot of money if the ID theft is seen to its horrible conclusion. But you can have Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion block all attempts to get information from your credit report. And you do that basically by either calling the numbers you see on the screen or going to the website, and you fill out the information there. And in exchange for that, they will freeze your credit. They'll give you a PIN number, so you can unfreeze it the next time you do want a new credit card. You go to a department store, you go to any kind of operation where you want a credit check performed, then you unfreeze with your PIN that credit information at that particular credit agency. Any questions about that? Okay. So then we talk about imposter scams. Well, does somebody wear a mask and come up and say, guess who I am? No, it's imposter scams. Well, someone calls you on the phone and says, hi, this is Sheriff Smith. We just got a report here from the court that you did not show up for jury duty. Well, I, as Sheriff Smith, will give you a way out. All you have to do is send in $100 worth of gift cards, and that'll pay your fine for not showing up for jury duty. Well, there was an imposter. Sheriff Smith or Sheriff Stan or Sheriff whatever, doesn't matter. So what are some of those scams that imposters pull off? Well, very simply, they can do it as IRS impersonators. And that's very, very common. Hi, this is the IRS. So-and-so gives you a badge number maybe, or gives you some kind of information, gives you a telephone number, which sounds legit. And it says, you do owe us some money, and we can straighten that out here on the phone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And sweetheart scams. Yes, they're perpetrated by imposters too. You get on those romance or dating sites, and you don't know who you're dealing with, and blah, blah, blah. One thing leads to another. And all of a sudden, one of those lovers online has lost a lot of money or lost a lot of personal information. Charity scams, yes, perpetrated by imposters. Well, the easiest one to deal with, and we've had that for years. Hi, this is Officer Smith again, and I'm collecting for the police officers ball here, and that's a very worthy charitable organization. We give money to help disabled kids. So all you have to do is go out and send some money to us via some gift cards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's the ever-present, always present, and very effective, the grandparent scam. If you're not familiar, especially if you're not a grandparent, but what happens is a grandparent gets a call from someone who sounds like a granddaughter, a grandson, and says, Grandma, Grandpa, I need some money to pay the lawyer to get me out of jail here in Tijuana. Or I need some money for bail. Can you wire it to me real quick? And what is so insidious about this is a lot of people fall for it because the actors, the imposters on the other end of the phone, are very good at what they do. And they convince, and they have just enough information to con the person, the victim, into giving up a lot of money. So, and I have that listed under seasonal scam examples because it comes and goes. IRS impersonators come around tax time. Sweetheart scams come around Valentine's Day. Charity scams, especially popular around the holidays, especially around Christmas. And a grandparent scam, very popular, spring break. That's a very popular scam during spring break. So, now I'm going backwards. Just a bar graph, my favorite. But this is a bar graph that said that victims lost, and I found this kind of hard to believe, almost $7 billion to internet-enabled crimes in 2021. Incredible. $7 billion. And by the way, we're not winning the war against the scamsters. That's why it's so important for us to pay attention to what we're doing. Um, it gets worse every year. It hasn't gotten any better. I don't know. It's inflation or people are just the con artists have gotten better, but we're not winning the war. So that's kind of sad. But the good news is that we are doing a better job at getting out information and keeping the losses. We're making some headway and keep minimizing or reducing the losses, but it's kind of scary. So how do these guys do it? How do the con artists do it? How do these fraudsters do it? Well, there is a playbook, and well, that's what we've come up with. The Fraud Watch Network has come up with a playbook, but there are common, how should I say it? The common traits to how con artists work, how fraudsters work. Give it a listen.
If you don't want to make up your mind right now, that's where I come in. I will make up your mind for you.
Anyway, I said I would not call unless it was a rare and definitely undervalued situation. Are you familiar with the $2.50 Gold Indian Series?
This is enough money for you to go to your grave knowing that you went and did the right thing, and you can go and meet God with a clear conscience. Now, what do you want to do?
Are you stupid? I'm not trying to insult you, but are you mentally ill? Is there something wrong with you that I don't know about? Is there something physically wrong with you? Like, are you retarded? Are you overaged? Do you forget things? Is there something wrong with you? You don't want to speak the phone up. Who the are you talking to on the phone? Hang the phone up and don't line and pick the phone up while I'm calling you. And that's the with me. You want me to come over here and set your home on fire?
You'll never, ever be anything. You're going to your grave a loser. A big loser. I think you're terrible.
Well, shocking, isn't it? But as it said, it's just a little example of undercover tapes made of people who were trying to pull a scam. But can you believe the kind of these are not smooth talkers. You think they have gentle kid gloves, but they're hitting you with a sledgehammer. They're smashing you right in the face. And yet these things work. That's where the insights come from. These guys were not that smart because they got caught, but it worked. Here's another fella that I'm going to play a little tape, and well, just give it a listen.
These are dangerous people you are on the phone with. Okay? Make no bones about it. I am a dangerous person on the telephone. If I choose to be fraudulent in my practices, there is nothing that's going to stop me from taking lots of money from people, period, the end. And there are many other people just as dangerous as me.
Yes, this is Jimmy from Brooklyn. In his day, he was what they call a boiler room operator, sit in a small room somewhere with a telephone or two or three or four. And he was good for, well, before he got caught, $6 million worth of cons. He was that good. This is Jimmy from Brooklyn, and it worked. Whatever he decided to do, whatever techniques he had, he was good at his trade. He knew how to con. And what was his secret? The secret to scamming people is called the ether, which is another term for how to put people in a heightened emotional state, how to put people back on their heels, how to get people on an emotional roller coaster ride. Well, one of the ways of doing that is by scaring them. Another way is maybe play to their greed, their anxieties, their concerns, their worries, whatever it may be. Use that to scam money or any other kind of personal information out of these people. But a heightened emotional state, the ether, exactly as implies, you're not thinking straight. You've got something's going through your head. All of a sudden, you ain't who you're supposed to be.
The crush or the kill is emotionally driven. It's not logic. If you apply logic to this concept, it's no. I'm not going to send you my hard-earned money. I don't even know who you are. I know you from Adam. When I wrap that in tons of emotion, that blurs. The logic goes out the window, the emotion kicks in. Now I've endeared you to me. Now I'm no longer the predator on the phone. I'm Jim from New York.
Or look at it a less harmful way when you go into a car dealer showroom. And well, it used to be that they had a car, they had a car in the showroom, but they don't have it anymore. And the smell of a brand new car, the slam of that door, the smooth tones from the salesman. Wouldn't you love to get in this car? Wouldn't you love to take out a loan for 5 years? Well, if you were thinking straight, probably you wouldn't, but all kinds of other thoughts come in your head. Well, think of it in the terms of what a scamster is trying to do. They want to get tens and hundreds and thousands of dollars out of their victims. What? On the phone. Think about that. So the ether gets them into it. They have to be able to put that into your head to get you going. So what are some of the pitches that these scammers use? Well, phantom riches or greed or whatever. I have a check for you. Lots of money. All you have to do is what? Give me a fee. Or how about this? And the grand prize is $25,000 in cold hard cash. Yes. Well, what do you have to do? Well, give up a little information in filling out that form online or on Facebook, or just click on this link. And the Florida lottery is up to $30 million. Hey, but we can make it easier to win that $30 million. Phantom riches. Hold that. It's enticing. Profiling. How did people get all that information? Grandma, grandpa? Well, they ask you for it and you give it up. So if you don't mind my asking, how long has your husband been deceased? And he's got the obit sheet in front of him. He knows where you live. He's looked up your telephone number in reverse directory, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or let me ask you something. Sounds like you have a wonderful home there. How much is that mortgage each month? We can do better. We can get you a mortgage that's cheaper and you'll get more money to spend. Surefire. Okay. But they can only get that information if you give it up. Just remember, you have to give it up. Scarcity is a common device, especially in times where you have hyperinflation as we have now. Well, why don't you come into this investment? I've heard something I haven't heard in a long time on the radio. People selling oil investments. Spend some money with us, and for over 20 years, you can make income tax-free. Now, but we can't give out too many of these shares. So you better call in the next hour or two so you can get in on this deal. So coins, we have only 4 units left. You're only 17 people selected to win the grand prize. I just got one right here. I'm one of a select few. So, and since they knew my name, it must be me, right? Or there are only 24 hours left before this offer expires. So you have to act now. Act now. Don't talk to anybody about it. Don't ask your wife, your husband, your cousin, your son. Don't tell anybody. Just go and do what I tell you to do. Act now. There's a common thread. Acting now. Do it while you're in the ether. That's the key. You're in the ether. Oh, and source credibility. Well, that's a good one. Hi, I'm such and such from such and such a bank, and right down the street. And that person may even have stolen the identity of that bank officer, and they're making a pitch to you. And there it is. They wear a suit, or they don't wear a suit, but they look good. They have source credibility. So don't believe. Yes, the cover on that book is not good. Okay. And fear and intimidation, you heard that on tape. Once I get hold of a victim, I would never let go. Even when they told me they were out of money, I would never let go. Go borrow the money and don't tell anybody about it. Just go and get the money and don't tell them what the money's for. You know what it's for. And then when you come up with a big pot of whatever, gold, then you can go tell them. But fear and intimidation, that seems to work. There's a story that is used often where a person was told that they had won the lottery and in Jamaica, and all they have to do was come up with a little finder's fee for this person calling from Jamaica and saying, "Hey, you won the lottery. Just give me some money." And well, it's not a lot of money. So she did. She sent some money to this person. $30,000 later, this person still did not have the lottery winnings. And this person at the end of the line, who was the scammer, threatened to burn this person's house, the victim's house down, if she didn't come up with any more money. Well, fortunately, she went to the authorities instead. So they will take their time as long as you're in the ether, as long as they've got you mesmerized. That's another term we could use. It'll work. So what are the ways of watching out for scams and knowing? The Office of the Maine Attorney General says all scams have similar traits. Yes, you are contacted out of the blue. Why am I so lucky? God only knows. You have to send money up front to receive a prize. That's the key. Up front. In this case, something for nothing. You need to send money via wire transfer or a reloadable card, a gift card, maybe. Gift cards, they're the best way, some of the best ways of conveying cash right away. And once you give up the gift card number, because that's how it works, you lose that money and very hard to recover. They will not ask you for a personal check, but sometimes people have been known to knock on your door and then demand the money right up front. But we find that rare because they can get caught if they do that. So if you are asked directly for personal or financial information, don't give it up. Don't tell anyone. That's another key. If they say, don't tell anybody, you know you're getting scammed. The act now, we've talked about it, getting scammed. And you get a real looking check in the mail. Why would anybody send you mail? Well, because, hey, if you cash that check, you keep this amount, and you send me the difference. Very simple. Okay. You go to the bank, you cash the check, and it all works out. And then you find out you're left holding it back because that check then comes back a few days later as being no good and bounced, and you're out the entire sum. So, Office of the Attorney General says all scams have similar traits. And here are some of the red hot scams of 2022. If you're interested, that there's a Google Voice scam whereby, well, if you have a Google Voice account, what they'll try to do is, in exchange for verifying a number, you give up some information in that verification to that number, and all of a sudden you find out that it had nothing to do with Google Voice. You just lost a verification number, and that person then will take that number and open up a fake Google Voice account in your name, and they'll use that to pull off their scams. Insidious. Fake Amazon employees under the imposter. Hi, I'm so-and-so from Amazon. I noticed that you ordered a package and you didn't get it. I'm sorry, we can fix that right away, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or how about, can you do me a favor for a friend? Give me a gift card. Go get a gift card. We'll take care of it because I need a loan right away, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there you go. Prevention. That's the key. We want to prevent these things from happening. All right. And one of the strategies is to go to Fraud Watch Network events, such as the one that's being presented at the Charlotte Hobbs Library today, right now. And it's very important because, as I said early on, when you let your guard down, even for just a few minutes, you pick up the phone. you click on something on the internet, uh, you see some kind of pop-up and you think your computer is broken, and you click on that and you think you're talking to a Microsoft technician, and you're not. What you've done is you've fallen part way for the scam by knowing that you are involved in a scam. You can cut it off. You can stop it before it gets any worse. And that's what we need to do. We need to get everybody elevated to that degree, or to tell your friends about it. We here at Ocean View like to talk to each other and share our common stories. And probably at the end of this discussion, we'll share some stories. That's a good thing to do. So here's what all the cons and fraudsters agree upon, what their marks, their victims, what they all have in common. They get excited easily for whatever reason. Oh, I'm excited to have won. Oh, I better do this, otherwise so-and-so, my aunt, will be in trouble. Oh, my nephew. Oh, they get excited easily. They don't even think that they're being scammed. They don't know. They don't consider why it's a scam. And they never ask questions because they believe in the authority figure, the imposter on the other end. And they take that everything at face value. So easy. Remember, they're in the ether, so you can't really blame them. You should never shame people. You should never shame them. You should never, never, ever put them in the position of, there must be something wrong with me. No, there is nothing wrong. Okay. That a little bit of education and a little bit of talking to other people won't fix. And they don't read information. They don't get on the Fraud Watch, AARP fraudwatch.org website to get information. They don't read the newspapers. They don't read all kinds of articles that I believe, turned the corner on getting public information out. Almost every day I see some sort of consumer related, Fraud Watch related feature on TV shows, radio shows. It's working. People are aware that we're going to lose $6.9 billion a year, or worse, if we don't do something, and we have to do it collectively. Okay, so what you can do, all right, avoid that ether. Everything's got to be, not only do you have to sleep on it, you have to be awake on it, okay? And do your research. So we had a whole spate of people saying, is this a good Ukraine charity to contribute to? And I tell people, go to charitynavigator.org. Okay, give it a research. Okay, do the research yourself and find out what's legitimate and where your money's going. And as far as stockbrokers are concerned, any kinds of securities, go to brokercheck.finra.org. Now, what about the telephone? What about the social platforms? What about all these things that we are all hooked into? What about your smartphone? You get fished, smished. You get all these bad text messages. So screen all your phone calls. If you don't have a caller ID built in, get one done so that at least you have the chance of not answering every phone call that comes into your house. Okay. And do watch out for those fake emails and text messages. They look so legit. They say, hiya, Phil. This is Bob. And I said, I know a Bob. It sounds like Bob. What does Bob want? And then you kind of do what Bob wants. It's a fake. And then you call on another line and say, hey, Bob, did you just call me? I said, no. So that's how it works. Screen those calls. Don't trust anything unless you have double checked. Okay. Verify, and verify again. And the idea of developing a refusal script, you pick up the phone and then you're kind of tongue-tied. You don't know what to do. This other person there wants to sell you a auto warranty. Well, and some people say, well, you should come up with a script, a little piece of paper right by the phone, and then you read the script and then you won't get into trouble. And I say, here's my refusal script. I hear that and I say, no, thank you. Goodbye. And you hang up. And that's probably the easiest refusal script you can come up with. But if you want to get fancy and you want to get really smart about it, because you got nothing else better to do, go ahead. By all means, develop a refusal script. Waste that scammer's time. Now, we didn't get to talk a lot about all those things, that bad things that can happen to your computer. And I know people like Don know a lot more about this than I do, but I know that the simplest thing to do is make sure that everything is up to date on your computer. Make sure you keep your, what do they call those things? Those little things that track you, the little things they put in there. And Don, help me out. What do they call those things they put in there? And
are you thinking of cookies?
Cookies, right? I was thinking, I like chocolate chip cookies, but I don't like the cookies they put in here. Okay, keep your caches clean. Get rid of your cookies and refuse the cookies if you can, and you'll stay out of some trouble. And keep your passwords private. Don't share. I mean, the biggest password that's been shared, I believe, is the Netflix password, and they lost quadrillions of billions of dollars, and they finally stopped it. Don't share your passwords. Change your passwords when you feel that you've lost some personal information with a particular account. And keeping unique passwords for each online account. Yes, that's a great idea in theory, because they say, how do I remember that? Well, then how about a password manager? Password managers, some of them cost money, some of them are free, but they will help you keep your unique passwords and keep them straight in your head so that you don't end up every time you go to a website having to re-verify and having to go through the process. But I believe in the two-step authentication if the website offers it, where once you try to log on, the second step to authenticate is usually a phone call with a text message to your cell phone, and then you take that code and you enter it in, and boom, that allows you to come in. I hope that's a quickie, and that will work for you. So protect your personal information. Also, take advantage of shredding sensitive information, your tax returns, your bank information, anything that contains a personal identification number or code. Okay, have that shredded. Take advantage of the AARP main shredding events, which are coming up soon. Check up on that, which you have the information on the AARP fraudwatch.org, and we're have shredding events where you can bring 3 boxes of information, of personal papers, and have it shredded for free. Monitor bills and financial records. Very important to do. Make it a habit of doing it once a month before you pay your bills, so you can say, hey, I don't recognize that. And most credit card companies, most banks will be more than cooperative and happy to help you figure it all out. And also consider a fraud alert for your credit reports, which is different from the credit freeze. It's an alert when somebody actually makes an attempt to check your credit history. Okay. And annualcreditreport.com is always a good idea. Once a year, you're allowed to have a copy of your credit report, and you're allowed to have a free copy from each of the organizations. So if you space it over once every 4 months, a different company, you can keep all of your credit reports straightened out for free each year. And there's a telephone number, 877-322-8228, to get more information and to find out where you want to go. And we at AARP are proud to give you as many resources as we can. And it starts with our number, 877-908-3360. That's our helpline. We've got real live people talking. We'll talk to you about your questions about fraud, scams, anything you want to report, anything you want to ask about. Okay. Or you can visit aarp.org, Fraud Watch Network, for more news and information, the latest. Or tune into the Phil and Pam show once a month, every second Thursday, once a month. And for a half an hour, we do a Zoom call with lots of people, and we talk about all kinds of things like that. You can sign up for it and look for the sign up registration information on that website, AARP fraudwatchnetwork.org. Okay. Hey, I'm telling you, information is the death of fraudsters. They don't want you to be alert. They want you to keep you, they want to keep you in that ether. And the only way to keep you in that ether is all that information, misinformation, and lies, which they put in your head. So I leave you a little message there. Don't trust caller ID. Do not trust it. You get spoofed. So just hang up. Don't hang on. And here's another. We say this all the time here at AARP Fraud Watch Maine. If you can spot a scam, you can stop a scam. You can stop it dead in its tracks. And you have power, more power than you think. Well, it's unbelievable what you can do. You can call the police. You can call AARP Fraud Watch hotline. It's incredible, the resources we have. But remember, you can't do it all by yourself, okay? It takes a village. If you can spot a scam and you can tell other people about the scam, you can stop a scam. And do not shame anyone who's been scammed, okay? That's all I can say. Don't add blame to the shame. All right. So here's another invitation to become a fraud fighter. Okay. It's simple. The Fraud Watch Network is there for you. We have watchdog alerts. Watch in your newspapers and other sources. We put out, AARP Maine puts out scam alerts, picks out scams that you have to look out for that particular month. It could be a seasonal scam. It could be something like Elder Fraud Week is coming up, and we'll spotlight what elder fraud is all about, and you can see more about that. There it is. Become a fraud fighter with us. So in conclusion, share what you've learned here today with your friends and your family. Everybody needs to get into this. It takes a village. It takes a family. You know, it's better than the conversation Thanksgiving turkey dinners. And I'm sure you're going to benefit. And let's say you happen to be in the middle of an etherized transaction that you started a couple of days ago on the phone with this scamster about some kind of cryptocurrency deal. Maybe you'll get talked out of it. And wouldn't that be great, huh? So if you can spot a scam, you can stop a scam. I open up for questions. Anybody want to share a story that we could all benefit from?
I actually do have a question, Phil.
Sure.
So what? Well, it's twofold. I guess it's partially a story, and I got a call at the library. I don't know, maybe a month ago, and it was a woman who said she was with a phone company, and what she needed from me was a copy of my phone bill. So just go get it and scan it in and send it to her. And I hung up, and she called back and said, "You just hung up on me, and I need you to go get that phone bill." And it's like it really sounded like I'd done something wrong, like, business wise. And I ended up hanging up on her again because but what information, I didn't do anything about it, like in terms of calling the police, or what information would they have needed from me? Like, would I have been able, like, her number from our caller ID, or like, what information could I have given the police if I had wanted to report that? I probably should have reported that.
Well, Don, you can help with this one too, because you are one of our experts now. And what I would say is that because the person came back at you and didn't get what she or he wanted, this is kind of one of those things. But if you had given that number, or you had called that number that you saw on the caller ID, you probably would have found that it was a bum number. It was a fake number. The fact that they wanted to get a telephone listing from you, whatever the bill was, because there is some information they could use against the library, of course. Is this against the library? Is this your library accounts?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So they might be able to do something like that. But right now, the idea was they wanted to get you in the ether right away, put you back on your heels, and saying, yes, you're the director, and you're not cooperating. We're going to call the cops on you or something.
Right.
Or but it's, you never know. Sometimes with these scams, you never know what they're gonna get to until you play it all out. And you really don't want to play it all out. What do you think, Don?
I'm in full agreement. You don't want to play it out. Certainly, you did the right thing. I would probably say I don't respond to telephone calls like this. Put it in writing and deal with it that way. And I'll say that on a rare occasion. Having somebody's phone bill, it's provides a lot of the information that you would need in order to add another account or another person on it. So then somebody could, in fact, add that and hope that the library doesn't even notice it's been added for several months because they're going to pay something. So certainly I can see why they would run a scam like that, because it does give pretty interesting and important information regarding that. Certainly, I get calls at the Historical Society like that as well, and my responses were very happy with our phone service. Have a nice day, and that's kind of all I would ever say to somebody like that, and wouldn't tell them who I have my phone service with even.
Well, what was interesting is that is what I said the first time, and then I hung up, and then she called back. Like, then that's never happened to me before, that somebody's called back and said, you hung up on me and I need you to go get that phone bill right now. And, but so I guess back to my original question, if I had wanted to report that, would I have just reported the incident? Because I don't really have any information, right? Because her phone number, like you said, is probably not real. And she said she was from a company, but I probably forgot it the minute she said it,
Yeah. Well, I would say that if on a phone bill, the minimum from a phone bill is you get your account number. That account number can be used in scams.
Sure.
To lend credence to whatever the scammer wants. Well, I'm from the so and such library. I'm from the such and such municipal system, and here's my proof. Blah blah blah. But what was missing, and it's not your fault, of course, because you still did the right thing. You should have said, well, before I get the phone bill for you, why do you need this? I mean, sometimes asking the most obvious question is the easiest. Why?
Yeah. Well, she had said, because she could lower my bill, she could lower lower my phone bill, which
Okay.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
I just have never had anybody call back after I've said no, thank you, to call back and then be angry, which was when you were playing those angry people.
Yes.
I had never had that before. I'd never had somebody try that tactic of being, frankly belligerent. She called back and was like as if I had breached some
protocol,
of business.
Yeah.
It was an interesting tactic. It didn't end up working ultimately, but I could see how it could be really intimidating. And
the best thing to do, the answer to your question about reporting it, yes, you should report it to somebody else so that person can then figure out, well, should I tell somebody else what's going on? Maybe the police department would like to know. Maybe they can warn other city municipal agencies that something's going on here. Maybe the whole city system is under attack for some reason. You never know.
You never know.
You just, I mean, this call, did it sound like, what should I say? Did it sound overseas without being offensive?
It really didn't. It didn't. Okay. But it's, who knows anymore? It's hard to know.
Exactly. You're asking the right questions, Jeff. Anybody, any other questions, any stories that should be shared while we've got the Oh, we're so good for another 5 minutes on the hour, aren't we?
We are. I'm
No,
sure
it's up
you've
to you.
heard some stories, Phil. What do you hear the most common stories of?
That are actually real.
Yeah.
Well, see, that it's always hard to say because fortunately these people didn't get scammed. The stories they come to me and say, "Oh my God, it was so close that I did this." I said, "You did the right thing." The hardest ones to take care to deal with are the actually stories involving the grandma grandpa scam because they're so close to sending out some money, and then all of a sudden they get a call from the parents and say, "No, so and so is here. Don't send any money," that kind of thing. So I'll hear a story or two about that. And another stories that involved with investment scams where they try to get a lot of money out of people, um, and not a lot of money, just a couple of thousand here, a couple of thousand there, which for some people who went out, that's not a big deal, and they won't even report that kind of stuff. But for some people, it's a lot of money. So
Yeah.
that's what I actually hear, and I like to think that people, because of all the information that we can talk to everybody about, and spread the word, spread the news that it's not good out there. It's, for instance, we used to say, you're too young, but we used to say avoid such and such a neighborhood because the lighting is not good, or you're going to get mugged, or you're going to get, you know, this is going to happen to you. The whole world, your living room, your telephone, your office, that's the kind of danger that people live in. And we have to get that information out that it's hard to do because you want people to be trusting. You want people to have this natural inclination to be nice to each other. And yet sometimes you just can't do that because these people are counting on the fact that you're nice, that you will not look for trouble. So
Well,
this is
I mentioned before, I think before we started, that my in-laws got taken in one of those grandparent scams. The person called up and pretended to be their grandson and said he had been in an accident and needed. Anyway, they were very afraid, for him, and they went down to the store and they bought the gift cards and they scratched off the back and I mean afterwards they said, I mean, of course it didn't make sense, but at the time they were very, and the person kept picking up on things that they said, like, you know, they they said, Richie, is that you? And oh yes, Grandma, it's Richie, and and it went on and on, and they just they're it was very clever and it really played on their emotions, and it was really sad. It was sad, but more because they were embarrassed by what had happened. But
of course, and the embarrassment that comes with it that's attached. I wish there were some groups, and there are groups that we want people to talk about that. We want people to let other people know that it's not a personal failing to fall prey, because these people are these scam artists. They're very good at what they do.
right,
Those guys, and they do it for a living, and that's the other thing. We don't do it for a living. We just try to help people, help our neighbors, help our friends, help people in the community to be aware that be alert. That's what you can say. Be alert
yeah,
and stay informed. Okay,
yeah,
and use common sense. We call it the basics, and it's not that hard. And I've been doing this enough to know that you shouldn't expect someone to come right at you with an obvious scam, because if it seems too good to be true, then that scam person is not doing a good job. So
yeah.
the better they are, the worse off you are. So just be aware of that. And I say to people, don't engage. Just hang up and just tell people about it. Just go tell your neighbors, go tell your friends, tell your, in a library situation, you can tell, hey, spread the
Mhm.
word.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
use the AARP Fraud Watch Network to your advantage. And that's what you've done. You're doing it right now.
Excellent.
And I thank you.
Thank you so much, Phil. This was really informative, and hopefully people will find it on our website. And
I hope
thanks so
so.
much for doing this.
You're welcome.
Have a great night.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.